also warm welcome from my side as also being a representative of CoP. And as is written on my first slide, I would like to report a little bit about our last workshop that we had last year. And I skipped the next slide because it was presented more or less already by Han yesterday. And also this slide he took from my talk. This is about really a little bit impressions of our workshop last time. Last time we also had a chance to see a little bit of Ghent, what I very much enjoyed, and so far I haven't seen anything from Warsaw yet, so maybe we will have a chance to see something. And it was entitled Interdisciplinary Education for the Bioeconomy, Embedding the Mindset of the Bioeconomy, and the main target there was really to embed it into the curricula of bachelor programs, but we have also touched other parts, and you will see throughout my presentation. And the starting point for our workshop last year was that we thought, okay, there are so many disciplines, yeah, and you see here just some of them which are in some forms involved really in bioeconomy. Some of them are obvious, like bioeconomy itself or biotechnology or things like that, but others are not that obvious, yeah. Like, for example, you can also find here physics. You can find soil science, waste management, data science. All of these parts can contribute really to bioeconomy. And the majority of students doing this curricula are absolutely not aware of that. They don't know that they could contribute with what they are learning really to the concept of bioeconomy. And the question is, shouldn't they be connected early as possible to the mindset that they could contribute really also to this concept of bioeconomy. And if we talk about people dealing with bioeconomy, what do we need here? And what kind of people would be employed? Are these related to this T-shaped concept, those with a very deep, I take this slide pointer here, with a deep knowledge in their discipline, yeah, being a specialist in their discipline and just having some small added knowledge and awareness about bioeconomy? Or do we need really this perspective of not having very much knowledge in a specific discipline, but really be of broad interests and broad knowledge in all the different concepts? So what would be what we would need, and what do we mean if you talk about bioeconomists and setting up the mindset? And then we thought, okay, let's try to do it along examples. Let's see how different universities embedded the mindset of bioeconomy already in their disciplines. And then we have heard really examples for all the different topics. So for all kind of T-shapes, we have seen examples. And you can see here, for example, a very interesting concept I thought was the minor in green technology at the University of Naples. Because this was a minor where they could really bring together students with employees from the university. Yeah? So that not only students could take this minor, but also employees who wanted to get skills and knowledge in this context, so that already people were interconnected, students and people from industry, to exchange their experience, and that was a very nice concept, I think. We have heard of several masters in bioeconomy, so all of them somehow with the concept that you are already an expert in a specific discipline, and then you can join the coding master and learn more about the bioeconomy concept, so that it was really added on top of being a specialist, that you also learn about what bioeconomy is. And then we had something in between. For example, there was a presentation from Avans, and they have a course in exploration. And this course in exploration was really more a course of course in a skill. And what they said is, this skill, yeah, these creative thinking, design thinking, and all that stuff is a skill that completely independent from which discipline you do, will be important for whatever you do in the future. Wherever you will be employed, this is such an important mindset and skill that we teach it and everybody can take it. Yeah? So this was not specifically dedicated to bioeconomy, but it was agreed that this is also a skill that is absolutely necessary for people being involved in bioeconomy. A completely different concept, but I also like this very much, was a development that was done at the Estonian University of Life Science, which was a course, a mandatory course indeed, about 4 ECTS, about bioeconomy, which has to be taken by each student at the university. Completely independent what you study there, yeah? You had to take this course because they are convinced that this is so important that you are aware about this bioeconomy concept that completely independent from the discipline, this was a mandatory course. And what we also learned, and I come to that later, is that the hardest part here was really to convince the teacher to be involved in such a concept. Yeah, because they have the mindset of, I do what I do since ages, and why should I change, and what to contribute. And it was really hard work to convince the people and the established teacher to join there, but as soon as it was integrated, they also were convinced, okay, it's a good concept, but there was really a lot of activity energy needed to get them ready to do that. But it was really an excellent concept, I think. Other concept, also going a little bit in direction of being in between, is the general concept of the University of Vienna, the BOKU, yeah, because they have the so-called 3-pillar system. They design all the bachelor degree and master degree programs in a way that you have to take courses in the area of natural sciences, in the area of technical sciences, and in the area of social sciences. So it depends really a little bit on which discipline you study, but you really have to take courses out of all the different disciplines so that you, from the beginning on, learn also about wordings, communication, and things like that in the different disciplines, because they are so different that it's really, that you get aware really early about all these different concepts and principles. Sorry. I'm too fast for the system. Okay. Okay, perfect. And we also have heard about really concepts and curricula which really go in this T, yeah? And they say, okay, we also need so-called bioeconomists. So really people with a broad knowledge in many topics, but not very deep knowledge in one discipline. And we have heard about 2 different bachelor curricula. One was presented from the Hampi University of Finland, and this was about information and communication technology specifically dedicated to bioeconomy. And the second one was a real bachelor bioeconomy developed at the TU Munich. Yeah? And I personally thought, whoa, this is really hard stuff, because I have seen the curriculum, and this curriculum really tries to cover all the different disciplines that are related to bioeconomy. So that means engineering science, natural science, social science, economy, really all that is covered, and this is really a hard curriculum, I would say. Even if you don't go into deep too much, this is really not easy to understand all the different topics. And what they do also, and we have asked him to follow up with statistics, he told us that the very first people who really finished this study ended up, for example, at NGOs, so really in positions where they can be change makers, really, yeah? Where they said, okay, this is also what we aim for. We want to be afterwards in positions in politics or somewhere else where we really can change things. Yeah? So that from the beginning on, the mindset of the people studying bioeconomy was very much dedicated to be a game changer here, somehow. But what do they all have in common? And then we compared all these different concepts, and we have seen, okay, there is an agreement about what are the basic knowledge areas that you have to have knowledge in if you want to be a bioeconomist. And then we said, okay, some of them are obvious. It's about engineering and environmental and natural sciences. It's a little bit about basic mathematics, statistics, and also computer science. It's economy and business, of course, and also social sciences. So you see, it's already a broad spectrum of knowledge that you should have at least a little bit and be aware of this is part of bioeconomy. Then we were thinking about, okay, and what is also very important is that you create this awareness in all the students about sustainability at each level. So that means it starts with your personal level. What could I personally do to increase sustainability? But of course it's also implemented into local, global, and also in time, yeah? Because we also have, for the next generations, we have we have to take care, and this is intergenerational thinking as a responsibility. Take into account that maybe you only live, or me, maybe 20 years longer, but the next generation has to cope with the whole world really much, much longer. It is also about social acceptance and human ethics. And I think social acceptance is very important, because you can think about a lot of things which could be more sustainable, but if it's not accepted, it's difficult really to implement that. Yeah? And we also said, okay, and also take into account that biodiversity as a resource is also very important. And then when we thought about biodiversity, it started already that we said, okay, but there are lots of tasks and it's not easy to bring them always together, and how could that be done? And then we said, okay, which kind of skills do you need to achieve all that? And very important was here really communication and really transdisciplinarity. So you must be able to really communicate to other disciplines. You must be also able to co-create and do design thinking, so that you really can work in teams, can develop, can exchange with other people. And also that you somehow feel like a change agent, yeah? So that you say, okay, we must change things, and that you have this awareness what could be changed and things like that, including anticipation for future developments. We say in Germany, you need a eierlegende Wollmilchsau, which means you need a kind of animal that is giving you wool, it is giving you meat, it is giving you eggs, so it fulfills all requirements. And this is indeed, sometimes it might be a little bit scary if you want to be a bioeconomist, that you should somehow provide all this, yeah? And so what we said, okay, but then let's think about what is the learning outcome. So what is what we really want to achieve if we teach all that stuff? And we said, okay, it is important that the students will be able to describe the main components and their specific linkages within the sustainable circular bioeconomy, and place their own specific competences within this framework. And if you achieve this learning goal, you have achieved already the most you can achieve. Because if they are aware about how to place myself in this concept, and what is my contribution here, that is what we want to achieve. And I took a slide from Mona, and Han also showed it, Mona and Nita, and this is about how to achieve it. And this is start early with learning and never stop teaching. Yeah? And so that starts really in early childhood and goes really in direction to lifelong learning. And then we tried, okay, how could we achieve that? And we have said, okay, you can start, if you really start early, you should interconnect teaching activities really between primary, secondary school, higher education, vet education. All the different disciplines must be interconnected. You can't develop concepts for the different level. You have to do it really interconnected, so that each level builds up at what people have learned already at earlier level. And we also said, okay, and it's important that you have also idols, like use the methods of the European Commission, but even beyond, yeah, that people really care, and people who are interesting also for the youth, but also for the older generation, that they see, okay, they care and they behave like they should, and we need such idols, yeah. And in the next level, coming more in direction to vocational education and universities, we said, very important, engage the teachers really in developing the curricula. And this is really important because they need somehow really to be dedicated to that topic. They are aware of examples where they can show how the discipline is interconnected to bioeconomy. And if you are in a specific discipline, the easiest way to learn and to understand how bioeconomy works is if I see examples from my discipline, how this could really contribute. It must come back, and you must avoid this being abstract and at a meta level. You must be as concrete as possible for the students to convince them about bioeconomy. Also, we have learned that it's important really to create safe and inspire learning environments, and this is not only true for the students but also for the teachers. Yeah? Because they really, if they leave their comfort zone and they have to really learn maybe new themselves, it is really a huge step for them too. And this means you must create really environments where also teachers can learn, and it's okay if they fail maybe at the beginning, yeah, and also that they see very good examples here. And it's also important that you really exchange about best practice examples, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are so many very good examples, and you will also see this today, that you don't have to do everything new. Of course, there are local needs, faculty-specific needs, discipline-specific needs that you have to address, but I think you always can learn from good examples. And what we also thought, and we haven't been very far for that, is, but I think it's really a prerequisite that is necessary. It would be good if you would have a digital and easy, accessible repository for case studies, and one, yeah? Because there are developed several maps and things like that under the header of different projects or whatever, but they are not really interconnected. And if you are not dedicated to all these projects and not belonging to all these different projects and familiar with it, how would you find them? Yeah? How would you search for them and how would you find them? And this would be also an important step to increase the visibility here. And last but not least, we also said it is important to have more collaboration with local and regional industry in education projects. And this was because we think industry provides the jobs at the end, and it's an ideal place for internships, and further it's also a provider for examples which can be used as problems to be solved. So if you think about bioeconomy, I want to change the world, but how could I do it? And if you get really concrete examples from the industry, how it could be improved, what problems are and things like that, that they know where to work on. And this is also very important. And this also would increase, I think, also the interest of students in bioeconomy. And this is how we develop the concept for the workshop we are doing today. And this is how really to enhance student and industry engagement, to bring these two things together, to really build the next generation of employees which are aware of the bioeconomy concept. Thank you.